Right, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I know this guy for a very long time, of course. It's Peter Terry, the Industry Street, and this gentleman is an entrepreneur, he's a promoter, he's a DJ. What isn't he? But ladies and gentlemen, I thought I have to speak to this guy because he has got a lot to tell, how he started and from his empire of what he is, of course, looking after quite a few artists, bringing them over into the country and being one of the original, I personally would say, of the neo-soul, I will say the neo-soul testers, testing the ground of neo-soul, bringing them over and make them into household names. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present the one and only
Simon Soul Gigs. Hey, what's going on? I'm here with the main man, and happy to be here.
I don't know about the main man side, I don't know about that, but what I would like to say, Simon, before all the promotion and before being a DJ and stuff like that, there was an earlier story. In the earlier story, it goes a little something like this. So without further ado, I'd like to say, Simon Soul Gigs, this is all about your life. Simon Soul Gigs, I do believe you were born in North London. I say North London, possibly Hackney, possibly Finsbury Park. I don't know, but am I right with saying that, sir?
I'd say Hackney, born and bred.
Okay, yeah.
Literally born and bred from being born in Hackney Hospital, and I've grown up and spent the vast majority of my life in Hackney. So yeah, that's definitely where I'm born and bred.
Well, I must say as well, being born in Hackney, you seem like a very quiet guy, but we're going to get into that. So what was your schooling like? What was schooling
like? Again, coming from that borough, coming up in my time, which would have been, the 70s and into the 80s. I know some people think I'm a bit older. Some people might think I'm a 60s baby, but I'm not. I've just been around the block a few times. But yeah, coming up in the East, I mean, I enjoyed my school time. I think my influence in terms of music, probably from an older brother that was quite a party guy. And, I was quite experimental with it in my earlier days, probably more so into some of the dance types of music, but soul has always been where it's at for me.
So at home, when you were young, coming back from school and stuff like that, everyone listens to their idols. Who was your idol at the time?
Jesus, I mean, the usual suspects really, like Michael. We were spoiled. I mean, when I think of it now, compared to what the younger ones now are being raised on, not to knock the newer artists, but I mean, obviously, when you talk about people like Michael Jackson, Prince, Stevie Wonder, even Bob Marley would have obviously, been a huge influence back in the 70s. So, giants of the game, really. Diana Ross.
Yeah.
Just all of the big guns, really.
Well, music, we're going to go into it later on, but music has changed dramatically. It's nothing like, it's just churned out music at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think, I've come up through an era, has been, like many of your listeners might be able to relate to, whereby, even though we had those giants of that era, it was still a time when people like Michael Jackson had to break ground by being the first person of color on MTV. I mean, this is the era where, your parents or whatever, everyone gets called to the front room if you see a person of color on the TV. So you compare that to now, it's been an interesting ride, man.
Passing the exams, actually, up there. You're quite intelligent.
I think I'd done okay at school. I think I could have done a bit better. I went up as far as A level, but I didn't go on to pursue a degree. And sometimes I regret that a little bit, but at the same time, I think it was my application, man. I think I got into once I knew about the girls. I think the motivation just dropped off a little bit. Not to say that I was crazy into that, but let's just say by the time I got into my late teens, early 20s, I wasn't as applied as I could be academically. So I really got to A-level stage and stopped. But, you know, I've definitely got people who know from the stuff that I write, I definitely have a love with the, you know, putting across words and English. You know, and I'm happy with my standards.
Right,
you know.
Well, you got to be happy with your standard, and you must be happy with your standard, because at the moment you're one of the main empires for taking risk on neo soul. But we're going to get to that later on. But what we got to realise now is, as your time growing up, I mean, music was not what you always used to do. You came from school. What type of job you do? Because I know. Is it right to say you work with the council as well?
Yes, yeah. Well, I came up and my first job was in Sainsbury's.
Nothing wrong with it?
I laugh at it now because it was just a funny time. And,
but ask me a question. Did it put food on your table?
Well, it wasn't so much about, because I was at home at the time. So this is like my student days.
I got you.
I'm definitely a workaholic.
Yes.
I mean, I've come out of school and I had a part-time job straight away from the age. As soon as I got my national insurance number, that was it. I had my little part-time job, which when I was at college, you know, it took some pressure, you know, off my mum, who was the head of the household. You know, in terms of, you know, not having to, you know, you get your own money, you know, and back in them days, Pete, I'm old enough to know we used to get a little cash. We never used to get paid directly into your account. This was a little envelope,
brown one,
with your money in it, man. So, you know, there were good days, and you know, I like to be independent. I could buy my own trainers, stuff like that. So
can I ask you, single parent?
Yes, I did come up as part of a single household. So for me, that was very important for you know, to support mum and you know, take some of that pressure off. You know, we know how expensive teenagers' needs are.
Yes.
And it was like that then, and even more so now.
You say you have a brother, so obviously you have siblings around you as well.
Yeah, I'm one of three. I've got an older brother and sister. I'm the last of three. So I'm the baby of the bunch.
Are you the only one into the music business?
Yes, I'm the only one. The music business is not for the faint-hearted. That's all I would say. You know, if my son, I've got a 17-year-old son, and if he wanted to get into the music business, you know, I wouldn't deter. You know, everyone can do what they want to do, but it's not something that I would say, listen, you take for lightly. It's not a joke. It's probably one of the hardest businesses that you can try to make a profit in is music.
Yeah, it's music. And am I allowed to say congratulations, because you've got your 17-year-old and you've got another little one as well, Si?
I have, yeah, you can say congratulations. And I did. I thought my boots were hung up, man, but out of nowhere popped up another my gorgeous daughter, Keziah. And yeah, I'm really blessed. I don't know if she's a product of the pandemic. I don't know. Maybe I was just knocking the boots during that time when I weren't able to trade. But no, in all honesty, if I go back to my younger days, I always wanted to have 2 or 3 kids. Right. So, you know, when the opportunity came up and when it happened, I was over the moon and still am. She's 6 months now. So yeah, that's just gorgeous.
Well, moving on, of course, your time now with music, as we slip gently into that, were you like somebody that everybody would ask, oh, come and try and spin some tunes at a party, or somebody didn't turn up and you said, I can play some tunes? How did you get into
You know what, I think when I first started into it, I had friends, when I think back in the day, that were DJs. No one well known, just, you know, I think coming up in my era, that was one of the things. DJs were just becoming, you know, like stars. They were becoming to be bigger than some of the artists. So, you know, just like a lot of kids want to be footballers, yeah, a good portion of the teenagers, by the time you get to 15, 16, you know, have different aspirations. And I think a couple of my friends were DJs. So I actually started out MCing, believe it or not.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Sophie. Go on, do a little flap. Do a little flap. Come on, Simon.
No, you ain't gonna get me on that. This is 30 odd years ago. So I was the MC for my DJ friends, because I've always had this like big husky voice, which is kind of divided opinion over the years, because when I was at school, some of my teachers used to take the piss out of it for whatever reason. But I always, I've always loved my voice, because, it's just instantly kind of recognizable. So, but yeah, it's been all good, man.
But MCing, in what time? Was it just like, hi, this is Simon Solgates?
Nah, this was like, like I say, this was like for dance music, drum and bass.
Wow.
You had to spit some bars.
Ladies and gentlemen. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
So then time got on, of course, and I noticed that you sort of dipped in. What was your first sound system?
Oh, man. So I never really, I've always been a lone ranger, to be honest with you, Pete. I've always done things
by yourself,
by myself. I'm not quite sure why that is, but even though I had a little clique of people that were DJing, so at first it was MCing, and then I did move more so into the DJing, but by that time it was away from the dance music and into more of the traditional sounds that I still love now, which is obviously soul and R&B.
Yeah.
And by those times, all of the street sounds that we know and love today were already, established, so they weren't looking for no extra baggage, husky voices to come and work with their sounds. And yeah, so I just did my own thing. And to be honest with you, from an early age, I realized that where it was hard to break into that monopoly, that's where I think I've got that thing from. Look, just do it yourself. Right. So I started to put on my own events and parties for people to come to.
Okay.
And I had varying success. I've had started off having some really bad nights. People where you've only literally got a handful of people, mainly family. And you eventually get to a point where you build that up a little bit, but I fell out of love with the DJing a little bit.
You still do it, but going into that, so after that, it got to the stage of your likable situation with soul. You wanted to dabble more into it. You saw these artists creating this craft, but it seems like to me that you felt to yourself, they're not getting enough recognition.
I mean, this is the thing, like I got to that point within the sort of DJ setup whereby where's this going? There's already 50, 60 sounds that are much more established than me. Where am I going with these parties and stuff that I'm doing? It's getting a little bit stale. Not a lot was happening. So at that point in my life, I just sort of I had a friend of mine that just turned me on to a few kind of real underground neo soul artists. I think one of the first people I got turned on to was Kashif, but not only Kashif, people like Ndambi.
Okay.
And people like that, Ndambi, yeah. So
was it
PJ Morton came? PJ Morton came a bit later on. So people like Kindred and Tidra. I mean, Tidra Moses. I was listening to before I did anything. So I just got to the
point. And Dos as well.
Yeah, Konya Dos as well. So these were all people that I was buying the music through the DJing. And I thought to myself, well, why can't I see these people live? So I started to check out venues and stuff, but none of these guys were coming into the country. And I was like, man, I wish I could do something with this. And in the end, I thought, how hard could it be? Curiosity got the cat. And I just reached out to one artist, which happened to be Ndambi's manager, and said, look, why don't we do something? I've got no previous experience. I've got no track records, but take a chance and let's do something.
You also had the connections as well, because on top of that, from years being around the situation of the sounds, you knew who to speak to, who not to speak to. Being as a one-man band, you started bringing the artists over. You brought who's your first artist you brought over?
Well, the first one that I brought, I actually did a failed show. My first show was going to be at a venue called Ocean in Hackney.
Yep.
And that was going to be a show with Calvin Richardson. And that not many people know about that.
I drove him. I remember when he was here before. I used to drive him around.
So ladies' favorite. But at the time, Calvin missed his flight. He didn't come in. I would always book the artist to probably come in at least 2 or 3 days before the show. Something happened with Calvin's flight. He ended up coming in on the same day of the show. So I think, we had some difficulties because, we just had some difficulties in delivering that, because obviously it seemed very suspect to the powers that be that someone was coming in literally for a few hours. It didn't make any sense. So by him missing his flight, unfortunately, that show ended up getting cancelled. I had to run around, and I ended up putting on Omar and some other people to take his place. But that was a baptism of fire for me, because I lost money on that, because obviously, it was supposed to be him, an American star coming over. It didn't happen. And, I think that says something about my character, to be fair, that would have been enough to put a lot of people off. So it didn't put me off.
Well, it didn't. You carried on.
It didn't put me off. Thankfully, I did carry on. And I've gone on to work with a whole host of people and I'm quite proud of the fact of there's many people that I've worked with, and Danby I don't think had done, even though she was a regular in the UK, I don't think she had done a show at the Jazz Cafe for many years. I went on, I think the second act I worked with was Kindred.
Kindred and the Family Soul.
Kindred and the Family Soul. They hadn't been booked at the Jazz Cafe for about 6 years. Konya Dos, I think I did after that. That was a double show, and I think that's when people started to take me seriously because it was like, okay, this ain't just a flash in the pan. This guy has actually brought over someone that hasn't been here for a while, and he sold out the venue twice over.
Yeah.
So whereas before I used to get difficulties in going to book venues because it was like, well, they were questioning, are you good enough? Do you know what you're doing? Like, by the time I did my third show, which was a double sold out show with Konya, then at that point, I think it was a case of, okay, things started to become a bit easier.
They did become easier because one of the people you've brought over more than once is, of course, Tidra Moses.
Yeah, Tidra. Oh man, Tidra has probably been my most successful act. If I look at it in terms of how many customers have come out to see her, I've lost count how many times I've brought Tidra over. Probably 8 to 10 times maybe in the last 10 years. I mean, I've done a show with her, if not every year, then certainly every other year. So for a long time. And I don't know what it was with Tidra. She had it's common knowledge, I don't think it's anything that's a secret. Well, common knowledge, at least with her team. She had a problem with the Jazz Cafe back in the day because they booked her to do a show. So this is an exclusive here, Pete, I'm telling you. They booked her to do a show, but unfortunately her dad passed away in and around that time. So, but the lady that used to run the Jazz Cafe at that time was a bit of a, I don't want to say gangster, but let's just say she took no prisoners.
She's a naughty lady.
She was a bit naughty, and she just blackballed Tidra.
Wow.
And said, well, you're going to pull out on a show. Sorry to hear your dad's passed, but you can't pull out on a show with us and you're never going to play this venue again.
Wow.
Now, when I came in, I didn't know this was the case. So when I tell you, I put Tidra on sale thinking, okay, this should work. This is an artist that I've loved like everybody else for, from her album Complex Simplicity. And I'm telling you, that's probably the fastest selling show ever.
The woman loved it. The woman loved it.
And it was mad. She sold out. I mean, we've gone on to play Jazz Cafe. She's done it with me. She's played Jazz Cafe with the Jazz Cafe. So, yeah, she's really talented lady. You would think with her vocals being as good as they are, that she would have maybe got a bit further, but not a lot of people know as well. She's had some major songwriting success as well. She wrote the international hit Dip It Low for Christina Milian.
Oh, Milian,
and other songs as well. So you can imagine the royalties that she's getting from tracks like that. So very talented lady, super cool, fiery fiery temperament. But you know, I've enjoyed working with her, man. She's been, there's never a dull moment.
Well, there's never a dull moment with you as well, because Tim, I believe you actually carried on and you started getting a little home, which was in, of course, Northwest it was,
yeah.
Of course, was where Jazz Cafe was. But we're talking about a little home up in Streatham where you used to have as a home for a little while. Unfortunately, it's gone now, but it was, of course, the Hideaway.
Yeah, Hideaway was, something that I've used in recent years, probably maybe using it for about 3 or 4 years. I'm trying to remember the first act that I did there, but basically we've always had this. If you have a co-promoter of mine that I work with, Michael, he will often do these sort of area checks when he's doing a show. So North London in the house, South London in the house, and we know that there's a lot of the people that come to gigs. I don't think it's just gigs. I think it's raving in general. South London always make up the majority. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. I don't know what that's always about. So we had the idea, well, look, people always complain to us, man, as much as we love the Jazz Cafe, why have we always got to come all the way to North London, cross the river? Can't we have something in our part of the world? So Hideaway, we noticed, we went and checked it out. Lovely little venue, only half the size of the Jazz Cafe, but all seated. And
it used to be the old Illusions.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I did go there back in the day. It was Mysteries.
That's right, little
venue.
den. Yeah.
But yeah, really nice spot, man, and such a shame that it's been a victim of the pandemic. And we will sorely miss that venue. But I know that the owners are actively looking for new premises, so fingers crossed.
Watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space for 2022.
Well, 2022, but the world still carries on with Simon Soul Gigs. Now, Simon Soul Gigs is, of course, your DJ name, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a recent thing. I mean, I've called myself loads of different things over the years, to be perfectly honest with you, but where I changed my social media name to Simon Soul Gigs, because I didn't just want my government name because of identity fraud, even though a lot of people would know what it is anyway.
Yeah.
For the purpose of Facebook, because it's gone on to be this sort of huge.
Viral.
Yeah, it's viral. So it's like, you know what? Let me change my name, my last name, to my company name, because it will sort of it will join the dots for people. So. That was the reason behind that.
Where did you get Soul Gigs from? Because it's such an easy name. Was it just...
You know what? When I first started out, some people might remember, I couldn't think of what to call myself, so I called myself SimonPressia.com. Which was a bit, and I guess my surname is not the easiest. It's not like Simon Smith or something like that. So people didn't know how to spell it. Right. So I think it was a bit of hateration, if you ask me. But people just used to think, like, who does he think he is? And some people gave me the moniker Simon Cowell. So which I find funny. But again, I just think it's a bit of small-mindedness and a bit of jealousy by some people that don't even know who I am, what I'm about as a person. They just want to judge. But anyway, in the end, I thought, you know what? Yeah, I don't think having my name as a website works. It should be something that's more about the music.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, soul is obviously what it's about, and gigs. So it was like Soul Gigs.
It actually works really well.
And there you go. So yeah, and I think hopefully most people know about it now.
Simon, I need to ask you a question, because it's been bugging me ever since I know. Have you got Chinese in you?
Do you know what?
You have, haven't you?
No, I don't. Do you know the reason why I'm laughing? I've had someone argue with me in the street, because I was like, I was going for a drink with some work colleagues, and one of the people that was attending said to me, just looked at me and said, "You have some Chinese in you, right?" And I said, "No, I actually don't." And you know,
you're showing none of your history.
No. What it is, my family, at least on my mum's side, come from Trinidad.
Okay.
Right, now in Trinidad, you have people that you would get called as redskin
Yes,
people.
yes.
Yeah, probably not much different.
Like
probably
us.
not
Yeah.
much difference than yourself than me, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and on my mum's side, they are from Venezuela.
Okay, so there you go.
Right, so there's a Spanish mix going on in there, and they are very fair on that side.
Right.
So that's where I think, you know, where my dad is dark, you know, and on my mum's side, very fair. I've got a mixed up thing going on. You know, I just class. To me, some people find it intriguing. This is just me. So
you've had it a lot of times.
Oh God, over the years. Oh my God, where you from? What you doing? That's this, that's that, and I'm like, Jesus, man, is it that deep?
Well, getting back to the nitty gritty, as your craft of bringing artists over, you went I don't know how you got the connections, but people like Melba Moore, you did people like Joyce Sims, and I think Ramina Johnson. Oh, who's that other big soul artist?
Oh, Selena Johnson.
Selena Johnson,
yes,
get it right,
yeah.
Peter. Yeah, so you dabbled into, like, obviously you got your neos, you got your undergrounds, and then you decided, wow, Melba Moore, how can I get that?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, do you know what? I mean, even though my first and always my love will be the kind of neo soul vibe, you know, I'm a 70s baby, so who hasn't grown up listening to people like Joyce Sims and Melba Moore and people like Karen White as well?
Yes,
like,
you did Karen White and BB&Q.
Yeah, BB&Q band, Kashif was another one as well, rest in peace. So I think one of the first old school ones that I did was Melba Moore, and that was the first time, despite Melba Moore, obviously Melba's in her you know, in the twilight of her career, I think it's fair to say. Melba, apart from Top of the Pops, had never performed a concert in the UK.
Wow.
So that's something that I'm also, because she's gone on to work with a number of other promoters around the UK. But the first person to break bread with Melba was me, and I've worked with her a couple of times. Lovely lady. It's a lovely lady.
Amazing. Now, taking this risk into the neo soul statement, everybody knows Simon's soul gigs for neo soul. Do you see or identify that neo soul right now, this is the biggest argument, is the new rare groove?
Interesting one. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think it's the music of what us, the people. You know, the people that just the normal people that go out and rave, you know, at the weekends, and even those that don't rave. I think people resonate to this music because it's like it's got something about it's got something nostalgic about it. So, for example, when someone like some of the pioneers of this music, Adriana Evans, Maxwell, D'Angelo, it was very. If you think of the era before this, it was like swing beat and doing the Running Man. There was only that was only gonna last so long.
Yes.
Like we needed something more mature, a bit more sophisticated, and I think people gravitated towards it a lot. It was like, wow, this is like, rather than, obviously we weren't around, so not all of us were around for the Marvin Gaye's. And other artists that have obviously passed away, Barry White and people like this. So it was great to have, with the emergence of your Maxwells and your D'Angelos and all of these other artists, it was great to have our own kind of, I don't want to say gods, but musical giants, that were here and now.
Yes.
Not from bygone eras.
What do you think of the situation? Of course, you were quite a good fan with people like Michael Jackson being taken down for the reasons that they reckon he did. Because me personally, I feel it's because they had nothing on him and that's taken for something, and he was too powerful and that's taken him out of the system. Do you?
Yeah, man, I don't really like to comment too much on any sort of versions of what may or may not have happened, man. But it's a terrible shame. It's a terrible loss. I mean, it's kind of created a raging question now because of the unfortunate links with paedophile and these type of allegations, which were never proven. the guy from a musical sense was the best of the best. Some people will have this thing about, do you like Prince or Michael Jackson? For me, Michael Jackson all day.
All day long.
I can't see anyone surpassing the guy. It's a big regret of mine to have never seen him live. But it was a weird one with AEG coming in and sort of bankrolling this This Is It tour. And I think they originally scheduled them to do like a handful of dates.
And it got to 100,
and it just went like everyone in the world. You had people in Australia and Asia were like trying to book tickets for this guy. It just went mad. And, he's obviously a perfectionist, overworked himself. I mean, let's not forget, I think he got into his early 50s at this point. And obviously he's had his issues with medication.
Yes,
and I think he overdid it, overtrained, overworked himself. And as we know, for anyone that does take any kind of medication, you are always told, you can't, if you're on antibiotics, you can't be drinking alcohol.
Yes.
So I think the combination of the extreme routine in his advanced age, all the pressure of all of those shows, plus a doctor that maybe is prescribing more than they should, because obviously it's MJ and it's, he's just paying his bill, So I think a combination of that just led to him passing way before his time.
I got to go there because it would be unfair to go there. Now the situation, before we get deeper as a promoter as well, the situation with R. Kelly.
Shame as well. Big. I mean, look, I would say, speaking on, I like to champion our sisters because, the mainstream doesn't. And so I've always, most of the artists that I've worked with have been women. And I don't know, maybe that's a natural thing for a guy, I don't know. But I do think with R. Kelly, had it have been white girls that he was systematically abusing, because there has been a conviction now, so we can say abused. I do think that this would have been put to bed a lot earlier. We had the whole thing with Aaliyah, rest in peace, back in the day, with the whole were they or weren't they married and all this kind of stuff. I mean, so this wasn't something new. So I do think that it's a classic case of the authorities and the system not really being that interested because, it's only black women. So I think it's a terrible shame from a music point of view and from looking at it rather than not just as a human being, but from a promoter's point of view. And a DJ's point of view. What a great shame, because the guy has produced a stunning back catalogue, arguably up there with the greats. And I don't play R. Kelly music anymore. I haven't done. From a personal point of view, and also because I know, if not half, probably more than half of my listeners will be repulsed by hearing his music and the added meaning that it now has. So a great tragedy from a music point of view, but we have to think of all of the women and girls that he's abused over the years, and a real sad one on that one. But I don't have anything more to do with him.
Well, that is obviously because, I look in there and I've got music of his that rise to the ceiling, but in a sense I look at it and I say, you ain't never going to get played again. Yeah. I'm just waiting for the day I have to just delete it. But when you're checking, Happy People and stuff like that, classic tracks, but there was signs long time ago and they didn't take it. Yeah. But talking as a DJ profile person now, you also are a DJ. You don't have to play in sounds, but you have done a few radio stations as well, haven't you? I've
done a few radio stations over the years. Gosh, can I name them all?
Go ahead.
I'm currently on Flow Radio.
Yes.
I'm also collaborating with a number of stations, Injection Radio being one of them. With Soul Brit Trending, which is a list or a chart of the most 50 trending songs on radio. prior to that, and apart from all of these stations that are luckily working with me now, I did spend a number of years on a station called Deja Vu as well. And prior to that, man, there was another station called Source. I don't know if anyone bloody remembers that. My God, Flames.
Flames was your original, wasn't it?
Source sort of collaborated with Flames. They merged with Flames.
Yes.
And then the owners sort of fell out, and then we just after that, I think I went on to Deja Vu. But yeah, I've done a few radio stations. Look, I love music. So if I'm not promoting gigs, you know, radio presenting is an opportunity for me to do what I love in terms of playing music of people that are underplayed in the mainstream.
Yeah.
You know, we need that, and with internet radio, it gives us a huge opportunity now worldwide to be able to reach an audience that these artists definitely deserve.
Do you think there's a difference, or do you reckon, because of course, let's be real, a lot of the FM stations, they've got internet, but they don't use it to their advantage that they could do. They make it as the FM is the main source of getting their music or the airplay out there.
Yeah.
So how's your views now towards the FM, turning a knob, and now taking your phone anywhere and listening to a station?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally that the FM is a dinosaur thing. It's a thing of the past. I'll be honest with you. I'm definitely new age where it comes to that. I think we should all be transitioning into internet radio. That is clearly the future. When the powers that be are ready to swish a button, they're going to cut it. And, you know, so I understand that we've got a hardcore minority that I don't want to change their ways. I want to listen to FM forever. And okay, I get that. But clearly, you know, internet radio is the future. I don't think there's any doubts in anyone's minds about that. And just briefly as well, Pete, I wanted to go back to the R. Kelly situation that you just mentioned. I just mentioned one final point on that, which is that a lot of people will say, well, you know, you've got so many artists. You've got so many artists that are flawed in some way, as if to say that is a justification for keeping on listening to these guys. And at some point you have got, okay, we're not here to be judge and jury for someone that's been convicted of something petty or whatever, and they've done their time and they've come out. You know, it's all about rehabilitation. But there are certain things that I think are unforgivable.
Oh,
you know,
100%.
and when you get to systematic abuse of young women and girls, probably using your stardom as leverage to promising the world, you know, it's just, I think we've got to draw the line somewhere. You know, with MJ, you know, okay, there was a settlement out of court, you know, but I mean, which parent in their right mind is going to send their child,
that's right,
to stay with someone that they know is a little bit quirky in terms of their relationship with children? You're out of your mind. No parent in their right mind. So clear, in my opinion, this Jordan guy that ended up getting an out of court settlement, that was a setup, in my opinion.
It was. He even admitted it. His dad told him to.
Right. So it is what it is. But I think it's a great shame that we've had to cancel, you know, these guys' catalogs. With MJ, I'm not cancelling his catalog because I think it's not as clear cut as R. Kelly was.
Yeah. And the situation now with talking about artists still coming in, coming out of the country, and you know, putting your focus on a lot of these up and coming. For going for the old school, you brought Melba, and then you took the BBQ band and stuff like that, the soul generation artists. Is there more old school you're going to be bringing over?
Do you know what? I think we have had a healthy, there's other promoters that work on the scene that have more been doing the sort of rare groove, you know, giants of rare groove and all this type of stuff. So Old school is not really my lane, but if and when an opportunity comes up, I mean, if you look now with an artist that I'm working with, Will Downing, you could say that he's both, because he's about to put out his 21st or 25th, I can't remember, album. So this guy has been doing his thing for over 2 decades. Yeah. So he's both old and new, because he's still putting out relevant music to this day. Yeah. But I definitely see myself more so 70 to 80% of what I do will always be new school. Right. But of course, man, I'm a 70s baby. I love old school like everybody else. So if an opportunity comes up to work with an old school artist who I think is good, I'll do it.
I'm going to ask you something which I don't know if you're going to answer it, but a situation now with, there's about 4 or 5 major promoters that bring artists over on the same umbrella as you.
Right.
Why is it that you guys have all not got together and brought, I will say a consortium, because a consortium is a group of people together, and basically you all put on a massive show?
Yeah.
Why isn't it that you do? Because obviously your budget, their budget makes more money.
Yeah.
More money brings in bigger artists. Bigger artists, there could be more of a bigger pot to share out.
Yeah.
Why is it that you haven't decided to do something like that?
You know what? It's I mean, I work really well. I know the other promoters, at least 2 of the ones that you mentioned, which is you got Michael. That
Orlando.
does, and you got Orlando as well, both of whom I know relatively well.
You got EastEnder as well.
And EastEnder as well. So, you know, there is some common ground. We do try to avoid each other's dates so that we're sort of not clashing. But in terms of us all working together, I mean, maybe, but you know, you got to understand the.
Are you prepared to?
I would do it, but to be at the same time, Pete, to be honest with you, I'm a very closed and guarded person, because you've got a lot of people that come into this business that are not necessarily there for the right reasons. That's not to cast any aspersions on any other promoters. They're all doing their best, just like me. But the dynamics, it's not always easy to just say. I can understand from an outside point of view, why don't you just all come together and do one big gig? You know, it doesn't work like that, because people have got to put all of their finances together, and everyone's got different ways in which they work. You know, some people have investors, some people use their own 9 to 5 to be able to bring money in. People are bringing money in from different angles. So to get it all to work under one umbrella, I would say it is I can understand why it hasn't happened up until this point. I think EastEnder and Orlando have collaborated in the past.
Yes.
But you know, we work together to an extent, but I think we have to, it's like McDonald's and Burger King. Yeah, you might not always get, like, it would be great, you would think, okay, why don't you increase your market share and join forces? But then what about the brands that you've worked so hard for over the years?
Yeah, and no one was.
Do you know what I mean? And no one was there to support you during that time. Now all of a sudden it's bringing it all together. So the dynamics to get that to work, I'm not saying it won't ever happen, because it is something that has actually been discussed. Okay. And it's something that I am open to, but the conditions have to be right, and it may or may not ever happen.
Totally agree. Now the situation is right now, straight question, do you think the industry getting into it, is it a cutthroat business?
It is a cutthroat business. You got to be very careful. I've had my share of bad experience. You got to be very careful. That's why.
Can you explain one of them? The worst?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, when I was a bit more green in the business, I did work with a promoter that had been around for many years. I'm not going to call any names. And unfortunately, he ripped me off. So wow. There's no ifs or buts around it. Like I agreed to collaborate on something. I think I was used, because obviously my connection, my standing with the American artists, like for me, one of my proudest moments in this journey was working with Legacy a couple of years ago. Probably one of the higher profile artists that I've had the pleasure of working with. And obviously we did an amazing thing. We sold out, like quadruple sold out show at the Jazz Cafe.
Wow.
And we also sold out Manchester, Birmingham and Paris as well. So we had an amazing run. On the back of that, she also got booked to do the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh, wow.
So, and I know it's off the back of that, because when you do things that not every artist can do, 2,000 tickets at the Jazz Cafe, that is quite special, you know. So I know that it was, obviously it's not just on the back of that. She's amazing. She got booked in her own right, but it's always when you do something and when you demonstrate to bigger venues of your ticketing power, obviously it's not going to do your credentials any harm. But you know, getting back to the reason why I'm very guarded in terms of who I work with, I did a show many years ago. I collaborated with someone and they just took advantage. My standing with the American artists, and even other promoters have said it to me, you know, often other people, Orlando and people like that, will reach out to artists and they'll make reference to me because I've worked with so many of them over the years. So they know it's important from their point of view. Okay, we know that this is a guy that can be trusted. He's never left anyone stranded. He's always paid everyone their money, etc. So, and that is a weight off their mind when you're traveling internationally. You don't want to be coming into the unknown. But yeah, I was used in the past, and I was ripped off. And we're not talking about a couple of grand. We're talking about a significant sum of money. And you know,
that's the reason.
It's the reason why we've got to be very careful.
Who you are.
Yeah. And what I would say is not even about color and why can't. And a lot of people say, why can't black people work together?
Yeah.
It's not even really about a color thing. This guy was just a bad egg, and I didn't really do my due diligence. I'm kind of I trust people at that time. I trusted people at face value.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that he was that way inclined.
Wow.
So you know, but you know, what can you do? There you go. It's had a big impact on me.
Taught you a lot.
It's taught me a lot, and I had to learn a very harsh lesson.
Did it put you into any state of, I mean, money, a lot of money, as you were saying,
Yeah.
knowing you're not getting that? Did it get you to a stage where you thought, I can't do this now?
Yeah, it definitely created financial hardship for a period of time.
You
know, like I said, because it wasn't just a couple of grand, it was a significant sum of money. And you know, right now I just think, you know, karma will come back. I'm not really that guy to you know, to go on some sort of vengeful campaign. I just, you know, it is what it is. I made a mistake, and there you go. Was I depressed? No, but I did experience financial hardship for a few years on the back of that.
Right.
But again, I like to consider myself a fighter, and I didn't let that experience stop me from going on and having, you know, an amazing journey.
But you've also got to say, with him promoting in any way, shape or form, whether it's a club night or whether it's bringing an artist over, all of it's always a risk.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, the funny thing, Pete, I am not a gambling person. So well,
definitely not for bingo or the horses.
You know, I'm a guy, and I'm gonna out my brother here a little bit. My brother had a bit of a habit back in the day with gambling, and it put me off. Like I don't want to say traumatized, because that's a bit deep, but I wouldn't even say, because I watched my brother struggle with certain things. You know, gambling being one of them. What it done for me was like, boy, I'm not going anywhere near a bookies. If that's what it does to you, that it takes all the money out of your pocket, you know. And so I always look at myself and say, bloody hell, how come I take so much risk for shows? Because I wouldn't say that it's gambling, but you have to put money on the line, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get it back.
Yeah.
You know, but I do it because I love it. And I do it with the knowledge that, look, not everything is guaranteed to sell, you know? Yes, I've fine-tuned, I've got an intuition now for what will work and what won't work. But even now, with all these years of experience, you know, no one's got a Midas touch.
No.
And the conditions that we're working in at the moment, there's so many variables. Nothing's guaranteed.
I was going to go into that because obviously it has to be always mentioned. COVID.
Oh my God.
Near enough for 2 shows. You've cancelled so many shows as well.
Yeah.
Regarding the COVID, as the COVID hit us, you had a major show just about to come up, didn't you?
I did, and that was the Will Downing show. I had done COVID. The country, UK, shut down on the 20th of March. Boris finally got his act together and shut us down. The country was begging for us to be shut down earlier, but it didn't happen. Now, at that time, I had Rasan Patterson at Hideaway for a double show at Hideaway. And whilst they were actually here, you know, there was talk of the Americans not being able to get back out and what happens if the country shuts down. So you could imagine I had some pretty jittery artists, you know, and that was difficult. But to be fair, they were professional, and you know, we got that show done. But unfortunately, the Will Downing show, which was supposed to be like a week later, we had to postpone because Will is a gentleman in the mature part of his years, and you know, I can understand from the American point of view. The UK was COVID was running riot out here. Yeah. We were one of the worst right from the beginning, apart from Italy, I think, had a really bad moment, but the UK weren't far behind. So I understood, and I have had to postpone the show a number of times. I'm hoping and praying at the moment, because it's without question been the most difficult period in the 15 years or so that I've been doing this. Without question, not being able to trade has been, I can't even put it into words how difficult it's been. Even though I still have my other ways that I earn money, I still, not everyone knows, but I do still have a 9-to-5 that pays the bills, because other promoters manage to do it full time, but I don't want to be in that position where
you lose
where the bread on the table is coming from a show. That's not something that I've chosen to do, but I'm hopeful that things appear to have been as settled as they've been for the last 18-20 months. So I'm hoping that we're not gonna, even though we've got other factors that's gonna give us cause for concern this winter, like fuel rises and food shortages and all these other things we now got to worry about.
What do you make of all that, Si? Do you reckon it's a plan?
I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm a guy that loves music, but I'm not a politician. But I would say that it's, you know, I've got my own. I'm very opposed to Brexit.
Yeah.
Brexit has happened now. We got to get on with it. But Brexit has made my life more difficult. I'm a guy that has sort of pioneered, really, because no other promoters do it. In terms of taking shows, not just, that's always been my ambition.
You do it Europe.
Well, this is it. Because I do Rotterdam, I do Amsterdam, I do Paris, you know, and I've had the pleasure of doing South Africa. You know, it's something that I've wanted to develop more.
Yeah.
So now that we've done this Brexit thing, it's bloody made it difficult, because now just to go Paris, I need a visa. You know, so, and not to say that it can't be done, but it's just been made that much more difficult. So now with all these fuel shortages, I'm a bit annoyed, to be honest with you, with the British public. And I don't want to offend anyone, because look, I've had amazing support over the years from everybody, a cross-section of the community, black, white, whoever. But I do think that this whole let's get out of Europe has been, we've allowed the powers that be to create this feeling of xenophobia, yeah, which is like a hatred or a dislike of things that are foreign. The fact of the matter is, this country has been built on the back of foreign workers.
100%.
Yeah, foreign workers, like slavery. Hello, like we've been built on this. So it's kind of like a really stupid thing. I'm not saying that immigration shouldn't be controlled. Of course, it needs to be managed. I think every rational person will agree with that. But you know, you don't get to the point where you cut your nose off to spite your face, by saying, oh, we want all the foreigners out. Now look at the position that we're in. We got not enough drivers to do to drive the trucks. We've had a fuel crisis in this country. Some of it is related to global conditions, but some of it, we can't escape the fact that we don't have enough people in this country to do those jobs. It might even be picking fruit. We're now talking about we don't have enough butchers, so we're having to get rid of a lot of meat, you know, and just put it in the incinerator, literally. So I do think that we
got ourselves to blame.
We've got the British public has 100% got itself to blame, and it's unfortunate that half of the country that didn't vote for it have to now suffer for the other halves. You know, you can't get away. It's just race. Is it anything other than racism?
And it's weird as well, because you say that it's like the British public, whatever race they are, being that they're British, they like going to Spain and all places like that, which is Europe. And the thing about it, they're going to be paying a hell of a lot, double the price, when they could jump on a plane and pay £75, be there and return and not have no issues at all. But now,
I think it's been the biggest mistake in my lifetime. I'm not saying that, like I said, every country should be able to control their borders, and okay, how can you control your borders whilst you're still in Europe? Because you got to have the freedom of movement. But there should have been a way. We should have pushed for a way to be able to have systems like what Australia and Canada do, whereby we're able to allow certain people in whose professions we lack. I mean, we can't pick our own fruit. And as soon as we talk about this on social media, oh, they're not paying us enough. We're living in a capitalist society. This is how it works. You know, if we all sit here and wait for a fair wage, hell's gonna freeze over. That's not how capitalism works. You might as well go to a communist setup where everyone's gonna get, don't matter if you're a doctor or a road sweeper, everyone's gonna get one wage. That's not what we're in. So this whole thing of, oh, we need better wages, whatever, man. Like, you gotta go to school, get the decent grades, and be able to pull your weight. That's the setup that we're living in. So yeah, I could go on forever about Brexit, man. It's not done. I can't.
Simon's not happy with Brexit.
I can't think of one single way that has improved my life.
Right. Simon, on top of that, I just want to know are you a vinyl collector as well?
Do you know, I am and was. I talk past tense now. Yeah, I got an offer.
But you couldn't refuse.
I got an offer. So I had quite a big collection of, I would say, probably 5,000 or 6,000 albums, 12-inch, 7 inches. But I've got a lack of space.
That's it. That's the same one.
Where do I keep it all? And if you live with a woman, as I do, so I don't benefit from living in a mansion, unfortunately. In which case, I could have a lovely little studio with all a little man cave. I don't have that luxury, so I love vinyl, and it's obviously vinyl is booming now.
Do you know what? It's booming now, and they were saying on the TV that it's actually they haven't got plants now to press the vinyls.
Exactly. I was just talking about this the other day on social media, and vinyl is now the number one choice of physical format. It's overtaken CDs probably a while ago, and I find that quite astonishing, man, because a while ago, 10 years ago, you'd literally go past a charity shop and all you're seeing outside is Pure Records stashed that people just threw them away, literally, and some of them are worth money.
Well, you're going to upset people like Dirty Den and that, because if he knows, and Mystery sold his as well, so he can't say nothing, but people selling them because there is no space. And that's what you say, you just said a statement there which is very, very interesting, that everybody looks at you and they see all these massive shows you bring over, blah blah, they think Simon lives in this massive mansion, drives the top of the range car and stuff like that. Put it to bed and show people it ain't what you think.
No, it's not what you think. I mean, look, I don't have any regrets. I'm a man of modest means. I'm not one of these ego people to say, I'm living large and I've got this and I've got that. You know, I don't want for anything, you know, but yeah, I don't have a sprawling mansion. I'm not going to try to portray that lifestyle. You know, if I was making crazy money out of doing events, I wouldn't still be working. You know, I work because, you know, that is consistent,
guaranteed,
and that's guaranteed at the end of the month. You know, so it's not like that. And anyone that's got ambitions to get into the music, look, you can have a great time, you know, but it's bloody hard work, man.
It's hard work.
It's hard work.
Now, going on a bit further into the situation, I have a situation which I call the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay.
So we're going to the good first. What's
Yeah.
the good things about you being, of course, an entrepreneur, promoter, of course, being a DJ, being good at your craft?
Yeah. I would say the goods, I think life, if we look at it and forget about all the material things and the assets and the money and the cars and all these other things, when it comes down to it, when we all meet that day of reckoning, yeah, all of those things you can't take with you. So for me, as people, sometimes we underestimate the fact that life is really about creating memories. You know, and what I'm happy about most, I mean, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to try and get a calculator out to work out how many people have been through the respective venues. It's not just Jazz Cafe, it's Hideaway, like you mentioned, Electric Brixton,
even
Oceans back in the day, you know, Islington Assembly Hall, Islington Academy. So, you know, the Fridge. I've frequented a lot of venues, and that's just in London. We're not even talking about the ones outside of London, or in Europe. So I will go to bed thinking, you know what, I've made some amazing memories for people. There's people that I know when I first went to listen to Kindred at the Jazz Cafe before I got started, I still remember that up to now.
That day.
And that's probably going back 18, 19 years when they literally first came out. You know, so that's the good, I think, in terms of the memories that this has created. It's very much a niche market. And, you know, I'm proud of the fact that people can book events in confidence. You know you're going to get a good show. We don't cut corners. We hire a full band. You know, our artists, and it's a professional outfit for all intentional purposes.
Your situation now, have you noticed since you've been in this game that you've got more friends than you had before?
Do you know what? I'm not really that kind of party guy. Yes, I have a lot more associates. If I can call it.
I'm so glad you said that. I say it all the time.
I've got a world of associates, and the funny thing is, if I do something privately, people are going to expect the world to turn up because they just assume, oh, you're Simon, like, how you know thousands of people. And no, I'm a very private individual, unassuming. You know, I was quite shy in my younger days. I probably still carried a little bit of that forward into adulthood. You know, and that's how I've remained. I'm not that guy to be going out and trying to have all these friends and hangers off and all of that. I've got a a tiny circle.
Well, I've seen you every time I see Simon Soul gigs.
Yeah,
I see him on his own.
There you go.
I have never seen him with anybody.
Yeah, you will not see me with a bag of friends. You'll probably see me
with a bag of flyers.
Yeah, you'll see me with a bag of flyers promoting my events. But you know, I like to roll by myself, and I think business, because of how harsh it can be, has taught me that. Don't rely on nobody else. You want to get the job done, go out and do it yourself, because you just end up moping in your house. Oh, people only want to turn up when there's something on, and when it's time to do all the hard work or the nitty gritty, you know, no one's there for that side of it.
And also, after the good, we have the bad. What's the bad sides of the industry? So?
Bad side of the industry, like I said, that experience where I was ripped off, that's where it can be a bit cutthroat. There's sometimes, if you collaborate with the wrong person, it could set you back years. and life is precious. We don't have that kind of time. So I would say to people, just be very careful. Just be very careful. We could all make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. If something happens and a gig doesn't work, and you end up losing some money, and you pay that back, it can happen. But you're talking about something different, where someone has deliberately misled and cheated. So that for me is the bad. And that's probably had an impact
as well.
That's probably the ugly as well, because that's the worst thing to happen to me. But overwhelmingly, I try not to let that be what guides my experience. Overwhelmingly, it's been positive.
You just learned by your mistake.
I learned by my mistake. I work by myself now for the most part. I collaborate, as I mentioned, with Biggs, but I don't really work with that many people for that reason.
Also, there's a thing I have. Now, this is going to be a hard one for Simon. I have a thing that I call, name me your 5 best sounds.
Oh, man.
And I know you're not going to mix your words. 5 best
that's
sounds.
A hard one, Pete. Bloody hell, man. I'm going to try. I don't know if I'll get up to as many as 5. I think the number one sound most people have got to give it to them is Fifth Avenue.
Okay.
I think they are the undisputed number one for me.
Okay.
After that, I think in second place, I would have to say, in terms of street sounds, there's got to be probably Special Touch. I think after that, that would be my second. Third place, I would probably go with Mystery.
Okay.
Longevity wise. Fourth place, because I've worked with him a few times over the years, I know what his quality is. I don't think they always get the
recognition,
the props that they deserve, but Studio Express I think would probably come in.
Doddy?
Yeah, and in fourth, bloody hell. You put me on the spot with this one. In fifth place, I would probably go with Desi G and Barry White.
Whoa, there you go. Desi G and Barry at number 5.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, there you go.
That would be my top 5.
That's your top 5. And now it's getting a little bit hard, because now I ask you for your 5 MCs.
Oh my God. 5 top MCs. Well, you've got Jesus. Who is it? I think most people's undisputed number 1 would probably be Polito Don.
Whoa! Whoa, he's gonna love that. Yeah, Polito.
Oh yeah, I think he's definitely one of the best. Then you got Hollywood. Not Hollywood. Sorry, is it Danger? Danger from Fifth Avenue. Which one of them is it that does the
Hollywood?
Hollywood.
Yeah,
I'm getting them mixed up. So Polito Don, Hollywood. Oh boy, I'm trying to
5
Dodd.
MCs.
Obviously you got Dodd.
3. You got 2 more.
Lord of mercy. I like he doesn't always get the props that he deserves as well, because he's very new school, but Jammers
TLM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do like he holds the mic well.
One more.
And jeez, the last one.
Yeah, that Simon say, jeez.
Because he put me on the spot, man. Who else is it that normally
If you can't do it, Si, you can't do
I'll
it.
just go with my 4.
He's
man.
going with his 4.
I'll stick with 4 instead of 5.
Simon's sweating.
I'm sweating. And put me on the
When
spot.
he gets on the street, they go, Si, what happened, man? What? Simon, what are you going to be doing before you hang your gloves up, mate? I mean, because, and what have you got coming for us?
Do you know what, Pete? Something I could have something very special for next year. What would be very special for me? It would be a collaboration, which I'm currently working on at the moment. I'm literally making an offer as we speak. I hope next year will just be an opportunity to get back to business, you know. And it's been a really hard 2 years, not just for people in hospitality, but other businesses as well, as we know. So I just hope the people get an opportunity to get their lives back, you know. I've got a couple of things that I'm working on at the moment where I'm about to table offers for people, and I think that they could be shows that would really set. Yeah, I think they would. But if they come through, I never talk about shows until I've got a contract.
I got you.
Because otherwise, I'll just be that guy that talks, and you know, I'm not about that.
What makes a good promoter?
I think what makes a good promoter is just someone that goes about their business privately and makes it happen. You don't need to be the one that, I know sometimes I could be a little bit of a keyboard warrior myself sometimes. But I also like to think that people can see that there's a level of consistency. You've got to be able to bounce back from disappointments, because you will have them, you know. And I think the most important characteristic is consistency. You know, make it happen.
Never give up.
No matter what happens, just deliver the show. Don't cut corners. Give people quality. I would like to think that those are the things that are probably, when I put on a show, most people are like, yep, we're going. You know.
Have you come to a situation where you've had to give people their money back?
Oh yeah. There have been people that have wanted refunds and stuff like that, and we've been able to do that. You know, but I hope that those conditions are not going to last longer. You know, most ticketing agents, just for the benefit of people that might be nervous about booking in these times, most ticketing agents will give you a money back guarantee.
That's on any event you do, really. It's by law.
On any event, as the Consumer Act or whatever, you will be entitled to a money back guarantee. So
you're hearing that, ladies and gentlemen.
You can book in confidence.
Anybody who puts on an event, if you then, because the promoter is not meeting the criteria, it will have to go back. Otherwise, it's against the law. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right in saying that. And obviously, I would just say to people, the bigger the agent, the better the ticketing terms. So obviously, you've got people like Ticketmaster, TicketWeb, C-Tickets, Gigantic, I think is another one. All of these agents will give you a money back guarantee.
Okay.
You know, so just read your terms and conditions, and that's it. It's the same thing like booking a holiday. You know, most travel agents now will have COVID protection, you know, whereby should there be another lockdown or if the country goes on a red list, you know, you can postpone it to another date or get free cancellation rights. So I think now more than ever, we just need to read the terms and conditions a bit more. A lot of the time as well, if you book things on your credit card, not to say that should be, not everyone likes to use a credit card, but providing you always pay it back within 28 days, you do get additional protection. A lot of credit cards will offer you some sort of legal cover should there be a dispute with a product you've purchased.
Absolutely. I tell you what, Simon, I never thought you were going to come out with so much. I thought you were just going to... He's asked me so many times, man, let me just go and do this interview quick, and got my business. But you put a lot on the table, and I'm really appreciative for that. Quickly, before we let you go, could you let everybody know your next show's coming up? Because as you said, Will Downing. Anything before that?
Yes, I'm doing a show with a lady that's up and coming. Been really impressed with her vocals. She's called Tankery Haywood. She's from Philadelphia, and that show is going to be coming up at the Jazz Cafe on 24th of January. Shortly after that, we will hopefully finally be delivering the Will Downing tour. Pretty much 2 years after it was originally scheduled. From March 2020 to now March 2022. So that's like a 4-date tour, Manchester, Birmingham, and then 2 dates in London. The Jazz Cafe is pretty much sold out, but we've also got a South London date in a venue in Norwood called Stanley Arts, where there is still availability over there. And as I say, I'm literally in the process of making offers for other shows I'm really hoping and optimistic that 2022 will be the year that we can start getting some normality back. Obviously, that's not guaranteed, but I think in life you've got to be optimistic.
Hopefully, that is what's going to care. So, Simon, Soul Gigs. One other thing before I let you go, because I said let you go. You also are the main man behind the big Christmas party as well. So come on, Simon.
Oh boy.
Is that occurring this year as well?
Do you know what? I have been doing what is known as the Hackney Christmas dance. Bloody hell, man. How long have I been doing that? Probably about the same time as I've been doing the gigs, about 15 years.
Yes.
And that's been a big miss for me. It's literally been part of my life, the same way the gigs have been. Everyone's been asking me on WhatsApp and stuff like that. What's happening with that party? Because you've got people that have been coming to this event for years and years. You know,
and it's been a part of their life gone.
Yeah, so no is the question to that. No is the answer to that question. Unfortunately, with parties and events, you're often, at least in my case, you're often planning 4 or 5 months in advance. So the venue that I use, which is more recently is Starlight in Leighton, sort of made the decision that, look, because of the cancellations, it's a wedding venue. It's not just a Christmas party venue. People get married there, people hold dances there, and they've had to refund so many people because of the constant lockdowns, giving people back their money, taking books here. You can appreciate from their point of view, it's been a logistical nightmare. So I fully understand the reason why they've just said, you know what, we're writing off 2021. That was a decision they made earlier on in the year. Whether or not they revisit it and start doing events for Christmas, I don't know. But I made that decision sort of back in July, August. I probably can't do it this year because I would normally have my tickets on sale from end of August, early September. My tickets come out really early. That gives you the best chance of being able to ensure there's enough time to be able to raise awareness and get those tickets sold. Amazing. So it's something that I love doing. Obviously my gigs have taken off a lot more than that Christmas party, but like I said, I'm not that guy that's got airs and graces. It's something I love doing. People love coming to it. As long as that's the case, I'll continue to do it. So hopefully, please God, spare life.
Waiting to get the green light.
You know, December 2022, I might have 2 Christmas parties to make up for the fact that there hasn't been any. But even that, Pete, I would normally go across to France because my tickets are really modestly priced. So one of the ways that I make savings on drinks, I go all the way over to France,
get the drinks,
to get the booze.
There you go.
Even now, what am I going to do? Am I going to go and get a visa? No. Am I going to go and get a visa now just to go on a cruise?
There you go. Listen, this has been an amazing interview. I've loved every moment of it, Simon. But is there any ambitions before you decide I don't want to do this no more? I just want to settle down with my daughter, let my son do what he's doing, and my wife live happily in a little village, little village in the woods.
Do you know what? I'll give myself another 3 to 5 years, because I must say it is a very pressurized. You know, I don't stop, so it can be. It takes its toll on my partner, my family life, because I'm working still. Plus, you can imagine I've got limited time when I stop working to be able to organise all of this.
Yeah.
So it does take an impact, and yes, I'm not going to continue forever. Maybe going forward in the future, I may just have one large event for the year. I will definitely need to change. I won't be able to do gigs throughout the year. Maybe I'll just do like one in the first half, one in the second. I'll definitely need to scale down what I'm doing. But, you know, for now, I need to make up for lost time.
You need to make your money back.
I need to make some money out here.
You definitely do.
For the next couple of years, providing conditions return to what they were and people can go out without needing a vaccine and all these ridiculous things. The idea is to put on as many shows as possible, but we will maintain quality. We're not just going to do shows for show's sake. It'll always need to be quality.
And quality is, I hope it's quality, because the quality is in that drawer there. because the quality means that I'm recognising you for what you've done. So Simon, can you open up my glove compartment? Can you take out that white box?
The white box?
Yes, and can you open it?
Oh my! Well, this is a surprise. What you got?
Just open it, Simon.
Is it a bag of cash?
Take it out, Simon.
You got $3,000 in there for
Open
me.
it up and read what's on there, Simon.
Let's see what we got here. It's got the Industry Street presents to Simon Soul Gigs for your contribution in the music industry. Wow!
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That's Simon Soul Gigs. This has been all about your life, sir. And we've got another banger one for you, because next week, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to slide it a little bit different, because I heard this story and I really want to get close and find out more about it. It's about a gentleman called Chris Lewis, former England cricketer. He's going to tell me his prison stay. He's going to tell me what was a life like of being in the celebrity world for such a long time and then going downhill by taking a major risk. Just as Simon says, big promoter. Everyone knows Simon, but it's not all what it seems. Thinking, driving nice cars, da-da-da-da. Chris took a risk. You're going to find the full story next week. So from Peter Terry and the Industry Street, salute.
Peace and love. Thank you for everyone that's listened and supported me over the years. Much appreciated. And I hope you find this interview even half engaging. Which it will be. Shouts going out to Peter as well for presenting me with this lovely award. That was quite unexpected, actually. And shouts going out to Peter for all the great work that he's doing on Injection Radio. And long may that continue. Very ambitious and hard-working guy.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Peace.
I was